Hello and welcome to Fairy Tale Friday. I am reading from my childhood book of Grimm's Fairy Tales. Yes, the one that's older than many of my viewers. This week we're reading Clever Gretel. And oddly enough, there's no Hansel here, so I don't remember this story. All right, since I mentioned that there was a pattern in these that we either have a widow or widower, siblings with issues, and characters who don't seem to be overly bright in terms of making good choices. Let's see if any of those patterns hold up in this story. Once upon a time, there was a cook. Ah, yes, there's another pattern, but doesn't show up in all of the stories. The once upon a time beginning. Once upon a time there was a cook who wore shoes with red rosettes, and when she went out with them on, she used to figure her feet about here and there, and then say to herself quite complacently, "Ah, you're still a pretty girl." And when she came home, she drank a glass of wine for joy, and as the wine made her wish to eat, she used to taste the best she had and excuse herself by saying, "The cook ought to know how her cooking tastes." I wonder if that's where that phrase came from. I also, as a cook, like to taste what I'm making before it's finished. Let me know in the comments down below if you do the same. One day it happened that the master said to her, "Gretel, this evening a guest is coming, so cook me 2 fowls." "I will do it directly, master," replied Gretel. She soon killed the fowls, plucked, dressed, and spitted them, and as evening came on, she put them down to the fire to roast. That part does remind me of my grandmother, who came from a very small village in Hungary, and there weren't always grocery stores. You could just go and buy things prepared. So yes, I do remember my grandmother preparing the chickens, and I remember having to pluck them as well. Very different from going to the grocery store. They soon began to brown and were nearly ready, but still the guest was not come. Then Gretel said to the master, "If your guest does not come soon, I shall have to take the fowls from the fire, but it will be a great shame not to eat them soon when they are juiciest." The master agreed, therefore, to run out himself and bring home his guest, and as soon as he had turned his back, Gretel laid aside the spit with its 2 fowls and thought to herself, "Ah, I've stood so long before the fire, I'm quite hot and thirsty. Who knows when he'll come? Meanwhile, I'll run down into the cellar and have a draught." Gretel ran down the stairs and filled a jug, and saying, "God bless you, Gretel," took a good pull at the beer, and when that was done, she had another draught. Then she went up again and placed the fowls before the fire and turned the spit round quite merrily, first spreading some butter over their skins. However, the roasting fowls smelled so good that Gretel thought she had better see how they tasted, and so she touched one with her finger and said, "Ah, how good these fowls are! It's a sin and a shame that they should not be eaten at once." She ran to the window to see if her master was yet coming with his guest, but she saw nobody and turned again to the fowls. "Ah, one wing is burnt," she said. "I'd better eat that." And cutting it off, she ate it. But then she thought, "Master will see that something's wanting. I'd better take the other." When she had finished the 2 wings, she went again to see whether her master was coming, but he was not. "Who knows," said she, "whether they'll come or not? Perhaps they'll stay where they are. Come, Gretel, be of good courage. The one is begun, have another drink, and then eat it up completely. For when it's all gone, you'll be at rest, and besides, why should the good things be spoiled?" So thinking, Gretel ran once more into the cellar, took an enormous drink, and then ate up the 1 fowl with great pleasure. As soon as it was down, the master, still not having returned, Gretel looked at the other fowl and said, "Where the one is, the other ought to be also. The two belong to each other. What's right for the one is right for the other. I believe if I take another draught, it will not hurt me." Okay, I cannot eat a whole chicken by myself, let alone two. I don't know how big these fowls are. Maybe they're Cornish hens that seem to be a big thing with people, but that's a lot of food and booze for one person. So saying, she took a hearty drink and let the second fowl slip down after the other. Just as she was in the best of the eating, the master came running up and called, "Make haste, Gretel, the guest is coming directly." Of course he is. "Yes, master," said she, "it will soon be ready." The master went in to see if the table were properly laid, and taking up the great knife wherewith he was to carve the fowls, he went to sharpen it upon the stone steps. Meantime came the guest and knocked politely at the door. Gretel ran to see who it was, and when she saw the guest, she held her finger to her mouth to enjoin silence. "Make haste quickly," she said. "If my master discovers you here, you are lost. He certainly did invite you to supper, but he means to cut off your ears. Just listen now how he's sharpening his knife." The guest listened to the sound and then hurried down the steps as fast as he could go, while Gretel ran screaming to her master and said to him, "You've invited a fine guest." "Eh? What?" said he. "What do you mean?" "Why," replied Gretel, "just as I was about to serve up the two fowls, your guest took them from off the dish and bolted away." "That's fine manners, certainly," said the master, grieved for his fine fowls. "If he had left me but one at least, that I might have something to eat." Then he called after his guest, who pretended not to hear him, and so he pursued him, knife in hand, calling out, "Only one! Only one!" meaning that his guest should leave one fowl behind him, but the guest supposed his host meant that he'd cut off only one ear, and so ran faster and faster as if fire were at his heels, that he might reach home safe and sound. Well, Gretel certainly knew how to make the best of things. She had plenty of beverages. She had two tasty fowls that were well cooked. And then she didn't even get caught by her master. Well, until he eventually would have caught up with the guest. And yes, I also do remember my father sharpening knives on a stone that we had. So, yeah, that story, as silly as it was, did bring back some wonderful memories of my grandmother and my father. Hope you enjoyed. Next week, I'll be reading The Water of Life. I don't remember that one. Let me know in the comments down below if you do. Until next time, take good care.